Theme parks. We all love them, but some are clearly better than others. And when talking about our favorite theme park... Wait a minute, we've done this before. If you haven't already, go back and watch part 1 of my top 25 favorite theme parks I've ever been to. This is part 2, aka my top 10. At the beginning of the last video, I cover the basic criteria for how I rank a park and how an opinion is an opinion, which is why none of you are more correct than I am and vice versa. I also talk about what theme parks I have to choose from in order to compile my top 25. Obviously, I haven't been to every theme park in the world, nobody has, but I have been to the majority of major ones in the United States, as well as several in Germany, Poland, Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Canada, and Mexico. Of course, I can't include any parks I haven't been to, so if your favorite park isn't on this list, it's likely I haven't been there. My top 10 contains a very healthy mix of immersive theme parks and amusement thrill parks. That tells you more than anything that I love all sorts of parks and can respect whichever park I visit depending on what type of experience they're aiming to provide. Alright, let's dive in, starting with my number 10 spot, Europa Park in Rust, Germany. One of Europe's most visited theme parks, Europa Park is easily one of the most beautiful and immersive I've visited. The park has different sections based around all sorts of European countries. Like seriously, which other park has a Luxembourg, Iceland, or Croatia area? Naturally, the countries with more prevalent identities and recognizable cultures are going to be the most well-themed. I'm talking France, Italy, Switzerland, and Spain. A lot of the different sections take you to a world away from the crowds without any rides, just as a place where you can relax and take in the sights and sounds. But Europa Park certainly does have a pretty cool ride lineup. The park is home to 13, soon to be 14 roller coasters, the highest number of any park in Germany and the second highest in all of Europe. Though, to be honest, one of my main complaints about the park is that the collection of coasters isn't all too great. They have 3 really fun thrill coasters, Voton Timber Coaster, Blue Fire Mega Coaster, and Silver Star. They are also building a 4th major coaster rumored to be called Voltron, but everything else isn't all too great. I think some could say the same about their dark rides as well. They have a few that I really enjoyed, like Puritan in Batavia, Volatarium, and Geisterschloss. But all the others, while cute, don't serve much of a purpose other than to bolster the quantity of rides and attractions. Europa Park's theming and park appearance is perfectly quality and quantity oriented, whereas the rides are honestly more for quantity in my opinion. That's the biggest reason why this park doesn't rank higher on my list. Lastly, Europa Park has widely been considered the Disneyland of Germany, partially because of its many reenactments of Disney attractions. Notice the Epcot ball making up Eurosat Can-Can coaster, and Puritan Batavia being similar to Pirates of the Caribbean, and Geisterschloss closely aligned with Haunted Mansion. Sure, I do prefer when parks get creative with their own unique ideas, but at least the rides that were Disney inspired here have their own unique feel and are generally very high quality attractions. Overall, Europa Park makes my top 10 because it's one of those places that truly makes you feel secluded from the rest of the world where there isn't a worry at all. It's so easy to get lost in the immersion here, and that's something I love. I just really wish the rides and roller coasters were a little bit more interesting. At number 9 is Energylandia in Cedar, Poland. Easily the best amusement park in the country of Poland and one of the best in Europe, Energylandia is an up-and-comer that only the Gen Z enthusiasts will be truly familiar with. You wouldn't believe it, but Energylandia opened as recently as 2014 and is currently in the process of building their 18th, 19th, and 20th roller coasters. That means by 2024, they will have matched Six Flags Magic Mountain for most coasters at any one park out there, in under a decade. But like with Europa Park, my major complaint with Energylandia and the reason it doesn't go higher on my list is it feels that quantity is more for show. They have a really top-heavy lineup of coasters with a few of the best on Earth, but once you look past those, the rest of the lineup is pretty unimpressive. But let's still highlight the must-do experiences. Zadra is an absolutely outstanding RMC hypercoaster with one of the greatest, most well-paced layouts ever. It's got a little bit of everything from the airtime, positive forces, laterals, whip, and more. It truly is one of the best coasters in the world. Hyperion is the park's big front gate coaster, and it easily lives up to its appearance. Built by Intamin, this hypercoaster combines an out and back first half with a twister second half. It really does everything I could ever want a hyper roller coaster to achieve. I'm also a big sucker for Abyssus. I think that's one of the more underrated launch coasters out there. It has 2 fun launches, lots of airtime, some zippy transitions, and it's pretty forceful as well. Its little brother Formula is a similar story, but this one's gotten a lot more notoriety for being Vekoma's first new generation thrill coaster. Other than those 4, I'm kind of left scratching my head when it comes to the rides, but here's what makes up for that. The park is impeccably clean and incredibly well taken care of. The operations from ride to ride are absolutely spectacular and some of the best in the world. The theming in the back half of the park is truly unbelievable. Even the food is perfect. I got some of the best ramen I've ever had at this food place across from Abysses, and it wasn't even a sit-down restaurant. Energylandia is one of those places I'd absolutely recommend you spend 2 days at, even if it's just to marathon the top 4 coasters over and over again. My brother and I got so many laps on these rides, and even so, I could have gone for a bunch more. Number 8, Effteling in Kaatsheuvel, Netherlands. Speaking of my brother, he joined me on this trip in Europe, and I'm pretty sure this was one of his least favorite parks of the trip. It just goes to show how different one's opinions can be compared to the next. In my opinion, Effteling is one of the classiest independently owned amusement parks in the world. It honestly blows my mind that this park isn't part of some major corporation because the budget they had to spend on some of their rides is unreal. Similar to Europa Park, the Effteling has a pretty even blend of roller coasters and dark rides. However, this time I feel that the quality was much better. Symbolica was my favorite ride in the park, and I'd personally consider it to be one of the best dark rides I've been on and the best in Europe. It's just a beautiful experience with so much going for it. I also loved Fata Morgana, an immaculate boat ride, and Droomvlucht, a super cool suspended dark ride. The park just has all these wonderful gems scattered about, and I'm sure there's many I didn't even get to experience. But while we're on the topic of hidden gems, don't miss the park's fairy tale forest. It is absolutely one of the coolest things I've ever seen at a theme park. You've got all these statues and animatronics themed to different fairy tales popular in Europe and abroad. Many of these are interactive and are tucked away in secluded areas covered by trees. Efteling is also home to 6 roller coasters, which isn't a lot, but a lot of them are very unique. Baron 1898 is probably the most intense thing you'll find here, that being a B&M dive coaster. It does go upside down a couple times, but overall the layout isn't super crazy. However, it's the way the park presents this ride with an immersive plotline and theme that to me made this one of the best dive coasters out there. Joris and de Draak is also a super fun wood coaster that actually races another train. This ride was deceptively wild, and I was a huge fan of its crossover sections. Vliegende Hollander is by far the best water coaster ever built. You'd never believe the theming in the first half, it's just entirely unbelievable. The outdoor bit with the coaster stuff isn't intense by any means, but everything beforehand is crazy underrated. I spent an entire day exploring the Efteling, and even still, I for sure could have gone for another. There's so many things I love about this park, and I hope all of my European theme park enthusiasts get the chance to visit. Number 7 is Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. The newest entry into my top 10 parks list, Kings Island is a place I was skeptical about at first, but easily lived up to the hype. I had always heard that Kings Island was this great place, but I was kind of hesitant, and that's partially the reason I held it off for so long, because I didn't want to be a little disappointed. But at last, my brother and I set out to visit this park along with another park that made my top 25, Holiday World, earlier in the fall. Let me tell you, everything you hear about Kings Island is true. This might be the best run corporate amusement park in the world. The operations are so fast, the employees are energetic, the food is terrific, and the atmosphere is amazing. One of the reasons I was always hesitant about Kings Island being so good is because it didn't appear to have an elite top 10 worthy coaster. And well, to be totally honest, they didn't. However, they have 5 excellent coasters, which is just as important as having that one ultra elite coaster in my opinion. Orion might be the most unfairly hated roller coaster I've ever been on. It is a B&M Giga coaster and one of the tallest in the world, and the layout is so much fun. Sure, it could have been longer, and sure, it's not as good as some other Giga coasters, but a Giga is a Giga. Diamondback is a great out-and-back B&M hypercoaster with endless camelback hills that takes riders out into the woods. It's a super fun ride and a great complement to Orion. Banshee is the world's longest inverted coaster with some of the largest elements I've ever seen on a ride like this. You don't truly understand just how huge Banshee is until you actually get on it. Kings Island is also home to the most wooden roller coaster track of any one amusement park out there. They have 4 awesome woodies, but the 2 I really want to mention are Mystic Timbers and Beast. Mystic Timbers is the more modern wooden coaster of the 2, opening in 2017. It has a super zippy and deceptively wild layout in the woods. It's also super smooth and is something I could see myself riding all day long. The Beast is by far the park's most famous roller coaster, and I completely understand why. To put it short, this ride is weird beyond belief but incredibly fun. The layout doesn't seem to be doing anything, yet you are blazing through the course. It's known as the longest wooden roller coaster in the world, a task that could only be done by the park themselves in the 1970s. It's such a historic coaster, and it's still kicking ass to this day. Kings Island's future appears to be so bright as they can expect a new major ride addition every few years. The park's owner and operator Cedar Fair loves this place, and for good reason. If you have Kings Island as your home park, you should be eternally grateful. Number 6 on my list is Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. This is a really special theme park that I truly wish I could have spent more time at. I visited late in the summer of 2021 and I had an entire day here, and even still, I didn't feel like it was enough time to really take the park in. Silver Dollar City is one of the most immersive, well well-themed parks I've ever seen. The entire park follows one continuous theme, unlike a place like Dollywood, which has a bunch of different themed areas. Now, I usually wouldn't be the biggest fan of this and would consider it to be a lazy approach, but the way Silver Dollar City does it is absolutely amazing. In addition, the park is run so incredibly well. The employees are super nice, the park is gorgeously landscaped, and one of my favorite things about Silver Dollar City is its setting. Not only is it built within Missouri's Ozark Mountains, giving exceptional views down at the valley below, but beneath the park is a full-on marble cave. And this isn't some half-assed cave, this is one of the best cave tours I've ever experienced, coming from a nature enthusiast that has done many around the country. It's unreal to be in this super quiet, secluded piece of serenity right underneath a bustling Western theme park. Silver Dollar City is home to 7 roller coasters, including a terrific top 4. Outlaw Run is one of the original RMCs integrated so well into the terrain. It was also the original topper track design, and man, RMC doesn't build coasters like this anymore. Outlaw Run arguably has the most unique feel of any of the rides I've been on, so this one I'd highly recommend you do. Time Traveler was the world's first extreme spinning coaster built by Mach Rides, and it is such a cool experience. The theming was so well done, and the layout, while not overly intense, is incredibly enjoyable. Wildfire is a pretty underrated B&M looping coaster with one of the greatest settings I've seen for a roller coaster ever. And Powder Keg, gosh, this might be one of the weirdest rides I've seen. They basically took their old log flume thing and mushed it together with an S&S launch coaster. It doesn't really make any sense, but it doesn't need to be because it's a great ride. Silver Dollar City is exceptional and one of the finest examples of a themed park I've seen. Arguably, it's the #1 park I've been to that I want to get back to the most. Number 5, Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Just like Silver Dollar City, Dollywood is operated by Herschend Entertainment, and you can really see the similarities with how genuinely amazing the park is run. I have never felt so at home visiting a theme park than at Dollywood. It has this incredibly charming vibe, and I just can't pinpoint the reason why. Ultimately, I'm going to guess that it's the combination of everything that makes a park great. First of all, Dollywood is gorgeous, nestled in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. Second, the operations are swift, so the lines are always pretty manageable. Third, the food is to die for. People always talk about the cinnamon bread, and I can definitely advocate for that being a must. Then, of course, what's that big thing that always makes a theme park? The rides, of course. And Dollywood has a sweet lineup of roller coasters. Maybe not the very best in the world, but it's certainly filled to the brim with high-quality attractions. Lightning Rod for the longest time was considered to be one of the best coasters in the world. Built by RMC, this originally launched wooden coaster was a maintenance nightmare and was closed more often than it was open. These days, it doesn't suffer from this problem nearly as much, and that could be mostly credited with the steel retracking. Unfortunately, the retracking combined with a slower launch speed than when the ride originally opened turned it into a great ride rather than an elite one that could make your top 5 or top 10. But still, it is an awesome coaster, and the novelty of launching up a hillside is unlike anything else I've seen. Thunderhead is a crazy GCI Woody with some awesome transitions. This is probably the ride I was most impressed with because I don't think a lot of people talk about Thunderhead. Tennessee Tornado is another great one. In my opinion, it's the best aerodynamics looping coaster in the world. Some other fan favorites include Wild Eagle, a B&M wing coaster, Mystery Mine, a deceptively intense Gerstlauer coaster, and Fire Chaser Express, a beautifully designed family coaster. Opening next year is also Big Bear Mountain, which I'm sure will only round out the lineup even further. Seriously, if you haven't taken a trip to Dollywood, make it a priority. And for my Europeans watching this, if you decide to take a theme park tour in America, put this park at the very top of your list. Number 4, Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. It may not come as too much of a surprise, but I have Cedar Point ranked as my top amusement park I've been to, specifically amusement park. There are still 3 other theme parks I'd take over it, but man, what a place. Widely known as the roller coaster capital of the world, there is no denying that this park has the single best lineup of coasters at any park out there. Cedar Point is home to 16 coasters, with a Family Wild Mouse on the way for this upcoming season, which will put them at 17. Sure, there's a few other parks that have more coasters than Cedar Point, but none have a collection so deep. Steel Vengeance, where do I even begin? It's been unanimously praised since its debut in 2018, and I know many would still consider it to be the very best coaster experience on Earth. Maverick is an Intamin Blitz coaster with a complete all-around layout. You've got the airtime, the positive Gs, the transitions, the inversions, and even some theming. It doesn't get much better than Maverick. Millennium Force is arguably the park's most famous ride. It's known as the first roller coaster that ever topped 300 feet, at least utilizing a complete circuit. Cedar Point has long been known as the park that likes to break records. They didn't just build the first 300-footer, but also the first 200-footer and 400-footer with Magnum XL 200 and Top Thrill Dragster respectively. Now the latter, Top Thrill Dragster, has been closed for a while now, and the permanent closure of the ride as we know it has been announced. It's widely speculated that the coaster will be reimagined with a new launch system for the 2024 season, but only time will tell. I visited this park both in 2019 and 2020 when all of the big 4 coasters the park is known for were going strong. But even looking past the top 4, there's so many B&Ms of varying models like wing coasters, inverted coasters, dive coasters, and then so many fun janky eras of varying intensities like Magnum XL 200 and Gemini. It's hard not to have a boatload of fun when you have this unbelievable lineup of rides right at your fingertips. Now, as I've stated with parks ranked lower on this list, thrill rides aren't everything you need to have a great amusement park. However, from my experiences visiting Cedar Point, the park was beautiful, it was clean, operations were sufficient, and the atmosphere was on fire. The park feels like the world's roller coaster mecca, and that to me is such an otherworldly experience. Number 3, Fantasia Land in Brühl, Germany. My highest ranked theme park in Europe, Fantasia Land is unlike any other place I've ever been to. The park is actually pretty small in size, but I swear every inch of the place looks like an art piece. Fantasia Land is one of the few places I've seen that are able to perfectly combine immersive theming and high thrills into one complete park. I wouldn't say they have a ton of rides, but almost all of the ones they do offer are the best of their kind. Fly is the world's first launch flying coaster, and it is by far the best flying coaster in the world. I cannot believe an experience like this exists. It is so fluid and so much fun. Terran is an Intamin multi-launch coaster with lots of quick transitions, and the ride was integrated beautifully into this stunningly beautiful themed area called Klugheim. Fantasia Land's themed areas are unbelievable. This one, Rückberg, which is where Fly is, their Africa section, and Mexico sections, like honestly, it's drop dead gorgeous here. Black Mamba is a B&M inverted coaster that really caught me by surprise. Lots of high intensity moments and rapid fire inversions almost entirely underneath ground level. Chiapas is arguably the world's best log flume. You can find it in the Mexico area and it is so well done. Many drops, a backwards segment, and some great theming. River Quest is also one of the best river rapids rides out there. Then you got some other rides that would be minor inclusions at most parks, like a Vekoma Mine Train and a Top Spin and a spinning coaster, but at Fantasia Land they're all done so well. I just can't believe how brilliant this park is when it comes to their rides and coasters. As if that wasn't enough, I think Fantasia Land has some of the best food I've ever had at a theme park. If you have the chance, I'd highly recommend eating at Rootmore's Tavern. That place is like a themed restaurant and the food is to die for. So overall, Fantasia Land is easily one of the greatest theme parks I've ever been to. I just really wish it were a little bit bigger. It's so good as is, but man, if they could continue to build these world-class attractions and themed areas without their space and sound constraints, I can only imagine how good they could build this place up. Number 2, Universal's Islands of Adventure in Orlando, Florida. It doesn't matter if you like high-thrill roller coasters, themed dark rides, immersive lands, or soaking water rides, because Islands of Adventure covers every possible area of what makes a theme park incredible. They honestly might be home to the best overall collection of rides in the world. I love how every category of ride was evenly dispersed. There's an incredible top 3 coaster lineup, 3 terrific dark rides, and 3 world-class water rides. So let's run down that list. Velocicoaster is widely considered to be one of the best all-around coasters ever built. It combines theming and thrills perfectly, and there is no experience quite like it anywhere else in the world. Incredible Hulk is a super intense B&M looping coaster, and once again with great theming. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure is probably the best family coaster ever built. Even so, it packs in some pretty thrilling elements, and it's gotta be one of the only roller coasters I've ridden that is able to perfectly portray a story. Onto the dark rides, Spider-Man is one of my all-time favorites for its chaotic ride experience. The special effects, the technology, and the 3D motion effects were done flawlessly, which is amazing for a ride built in 1999. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is an incredibly unique motion-based dark ride with a super long ride time and a great immersive feel to it. Skull Island Reign of Kong, in my opinion, is very underrated and actually complements the rest of the dark rides very well. Popeye and Bluto's Bilge-Rat Barges is the greatest river rapids ride ever built, end of discussion. It feels like you get more wet on this ride than you would jumping into a pool or taking a shower. Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls is a great log flume ride, again easily one of the best in the world. And Jurassic Park River Adventure kinda mixes a water ride with the dark ride, so that one kinda kills 2 birds with 1 stone. If these 9 phenomenal rides didn't convince you enough, Islands of Adventure has some of the best operations in the world and some of the best themed areas I've ever seen. One cannot say enough great things about this park, but it did rank another just 1 spot higher, even if they are so close together on my list. Oftentimes, I can't even decide between the two, so for the sake of your viewing experience, consider either of my top 2 parks to be my number 1. Disneyland in Anaheim, California is known by many as the happiest place on earth, and growing up I admittedly thought this was BS. I always found the park to be an overcrowded mess with no thrill rides. But as I've grown older and I've started to appreciate parks for what they are particularly trying to accomplish, I now have an entirely different perspective on Disneyland. It's true that if you visit on some random Saturday like I did as a kid, the park can be swamped with people and the lines can be miserable. But if you do plan accordingly and visit on the right day, you'll begin to realize that Disneyland's crowd management is actually pretty amazing. The way they're able to crank out their dispatches and keep the lines moving at all times is really incredible. And with an ever so popular theme park like this one, there's naturally going to be some pretty high expectations. From my countless experiences visiting Disneyland the past few years, everything from the landscaping and the delicious food and the themed areas have blown me away time and time again. Not to mention, I think you could make a dang good argument that this park has the greatest collection of rides in the world. I am usually tempted to give that honor to Islands of Adventure since they balance thrills and theming better. Disneyland is certainly a family park. Some of their rides may have thrilling bits, but overall every member of the family should be able to ride everything here, and that's what the park is trying to strive for. You wonder why this place is so dang popular. It's because they're able to cater to so many people. Talking about the rides, let's begin the same way that we did with Hollywood Studios in the last episode. Disneyland is home to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, one of the greatest themed areas of any park out there. Here, you'll find two great rides, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, a cool interactive simulator ride, and Rise of the Resistance, which I truly believe to be the greatest non-coaster attraction anywhere on Earth. New for this upcoming season is also Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's another one you can find at Hollywood Studios, and man, that is going to be one hell of an addition to Toontown. Indiana Jones Adventure is a favorite of mine. I've always said the attention to detail was so well done. Splash Mountain is, in my opinion, the best log flume ever built. The ride won't be around for much longer since they're doing the Princess and the Frog makeover to it, but I'd advise you to get out to the park and enjoy it one last time because it's incredible in its current state. Pirates of the Caribbean is a classic, but it's still a phenomenal dark ride. The ride lasts something like 15 minutes long, and every minute of it is very immersive. Haunted Mansion is another timeless classic, something that everyone just seems to love. And then while Disneyland may not have the most thrilling coasters out there, there are definitely some great ones. Namely, Space Mountain, Matterhorn Bobsleds, and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad all rock. Lastly, the supporting dark rides, which I appreciate all of, and I think they add so much to the depth of the ride lineup. All of these cute little experiences in Fantasyland especially, like Mr. Toad and Alice in Wonderland, are just so cool. It's crazy to think that I've been visiting Disneyland longer than any other park in the world, yet I can't imagine a day when I'll visit and not be looking forward to my experience. That, to me, is an indicator that Disneyland is one of the greatest theme parks ever built. But that's just me, and I'm sure a lot of you will highly disagree. And that's perfectly okay. All I ask is that you keep things civil and fair in the comment section below. I've said this many times before, but an opinion is an opinion, and if we all thought the same thing, being a part of this community wouldn't be nearly as fun. With that being said, I now invite you to leave a like on this video and subscribe to Coaster Dash for more fun videos like this to come in the future. I really appreciate you all supporting my work and helping me fight against the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Bye guys.